Okay, so the big stories making the headlines, of course, on social media and in the news over the weekend was the announcement by the central bank governor talking to the press on Saturday that's going to be a new microfinance bank. And of course, everyone's just went up antennae because thinking that is going to be a government. So we got clarification. It's not a government business. So that is it. It's going to be the Bankers Committee. If you know, the Bankers Committee is a group of all the CEOs or chief executive officers of all banks in Nigeria, and they have regular meetings. And over the years, they've set up a number of funds in agriculture, in small and medium enterprises. Some of these funds runs into hundreds of billions. You'll be surprised how much of this cash is sitting down at the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they look at those interventions they want to do in agriculture and MSMEs and found out that the microfinance banks are not doing this business. So they decided to set up their own MFB. So they're going to own it in majority shareholding. The company will be duly registered as a limited liability company under the provisions of the Corporate Affairs Commission and will have the Central Bank and NIPOST as minority shareholders. The percentage of that, I don't know yet, but of course they're still working it out. That should be unveiled between now and the end of the year. Of course, the new bank will be coming up next year. But you're not going to see this as a regular bank. NIPOST will have a desk or a window. If you go to the post office in your village anytime next year, maybe next year, December or anytime, or whatever public holiday, you might just walk in there and see a microfinance bank in there sharing those offices. And if you were interested in if you're doing micro business, the grassroots level, whether you're grinding cassava or you are frying it or you are frying akara somewhere, or it's fura, whatever you're doing, derail whatever business, and you can approach this NIPOST office. You get one or two staff there that will attend to you. You can open an account, or if you already have an account, you can now begin to be part of this electronic wallet arrangement in which you get soft loans of very, very soft interest rate as well, which is the new arrangement. The central bank says it will just be a superintendent of this arrangement and not injecting government money. Nigeria's foreign trade, third quarter foreign trade report came in a little bit not so nice, as you heard earlier. We're down about 71% in terms of balance of trade, $1.89 billion by some estimates. In Naira, that's about 681.27 billion. In the third quarter, we have our imports were higher in third quarter than our exports. Even our exports in agriculture was down according to data. You can see some of the infographics there from put together by the Statistics Office on your TV screen. Agriculture imports was down 0.1%. Exports value was down nearly 48%. Our raw materials exports value was higher 1.63%. Solid minerals exports value was down sharply 51.9%. Our imports was up just a marginal nearly 1%. Manufactured goods import value was higher, 122.97%. Again, the Statistics Office explained that our total import of 4.172 trillion in third quarter, that's July, August, and September, was because we did massive import of submersible drilling platforms in the month of August. That goes in the Niger Delta, of course, that is expected, where the oil and gas industry is the underbelly. Meantime, the Economic and Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank is chasing all those who have been identified. Of course, they've done some preliminary investigations, according to the Central Bank. Now they're taking the EFCC guys along with some handcuffs, most likely, going after companies and entities who have been violating the 41 items, a policy of the Central Bank on FX restrictions for those items. The Central Bank says the regulator is upset that folks are dumping and doing massive imports against the law. So now they're going on the street, and this is bringing the bad guys to the book. It's fire and fury and all that, as the regulator also announced the addition of fertilizer into the 41 items list. That makes it 42 items. We're going to find another way to craft the headline. Maybe no longer 41, maybe 42 items, because sources told us late Monday that there will be more items that will be added to the 42 list. So if you'll be surprised, we may be heading to 50, most likely more. So that's part of the stories this morning. The implications is that the central bank says companies and banks who are found to have been involved will be heavily dealt with. As a company, the regulator says your company may be scrapped entirely from having any bank account in the entire Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's going to be as severe as that. So Monday was a very roaring day at the FMDQ for Treasury bills. We traded nearly 210 billion naira worth of treasuries. That's quite massive. That's interesting. That caught my attention. So let's talk to Buki Adegbeshola, who is a fixed income dealer at Access Bank. She's joining us live now from the FMDQ Exchange Place. It's good to see you, Buki. This is a very strong way to start a new week. Is this the end of the year? Is it the end of the month? Is it the yield? What is it?
What we saw yesterday in the Treasury bills market, a lot of that activity was actually on the short and medium tenured bills. So we saw markets open bullish, despite the fact that the money market was low in terms of liquidity. And it could either be two things: people buying the short end to hold out for higher yields on the long tenor, maybe hoping that CBN would continue to increase the rates on the long tenor at the OMO auctions, or it could be that people have a need, to rebalance their portfolio for short-term instruments. So really, most of the activity we saw with that volume of trades was on the short end of the curve.
This yield going, chase the yield curve for me. You're an fixed income dealer, Bukola. So chase this yield curve for me, and why? Some folks are saying 17. Some folks are as aggressive as saying we're looking at 18% before December the 31st.
Well, I think the suggestion is because of the intention or the intent that the CBN has shown to mop up liquidity, in the system, particularly to reduce the depreciation on the FX side. So the idea or the thinking of market participants is that if the CBN is, willing to increase rates, then they would also hold out in terms of investing on the long end by keeping, their funds in the short end. So what we're seeing in the market is last week when we had seen significant, OMO sales by the CBN, we saw yields in the Treasury bills market increase by as much as, 150 basis points on the short end. So we see yields at this end at quite, high levels, which are attractive considering that they are short-tenured bills, So the CBN, between now and the end of the year, whatever their actions are in terms of rates, will then decide for people or help people decide what to then do entering into the new year in terms of their portfolio management.